You're not just asking us to justify services, you're asking us to justify our existence. Because without the services, we can't exist.
Without the services, we can't exist. That was Dr. Gabby Fici, a therapist and advocate for people with developmental disabilities. She was one of many speakers at an emotional hearing this past week. A Republican majority advanced a bill that would fill a $120 million funding shortfall for programs that serve 60,000 developmentally disabled Arizonans. As things stand, funding could run out by May. Now, one day after that hearing, Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs rejected the Republican solution and declared a bill moratorium. She will veto all new bills that are sent to her until a compromise is reached on the funding bill for developmentally disabled. Will Hobbs get the bill she wants and developmentally disabled Arizonans need? Joining us now, two of the top reporters at the Capitol, Mary Jo Pitzel of the Arizona Republic and Jeremy Duda of Axios Phoenix. Welcome back to Square Off. Jeremy, I'll start with you. This story has played out really since late January when it became clear there was going to be this large shortfall in funding. How did we get to this point?
Well, we got to this point through a lot of arguing and inaction. As you mentioned, this has been kind of going on since January, but it's gained steam, gained momentum month by month. And now we have, I think, in about 2 weeks, a deadline where this money runs out and this program pretty much halts. So things have become pretty critical, and that's what we've been hearing for months from the governor is, this deadline's coming, they got to do something. This deadline's coming, they got to do something. Republicans say, okay, well, here we have this solution. She doesn't like the solution. So we've basically reached this impasse where there just aren't a lot of other options for either side. No one's coming to an agreement, and so she used basically the nuclear option that I think a lot of us have been watching to see if she would do this, something we've seen other governors do, and now it's here.
And now the legislation, Mary Jo, has the money, but it's got some other things the governor doesn't like. Explain why she doesn't like it.
Because it takes authority away from the governor and gives it to the legislature. That's one of the things. And also importantly, it would cut the number of care hours that the state would pay for in half, so that a parent who is a caregiver taking care of their child in their home could only get reimbursed for 20 hours of care as opposed to 40. And right now, so we've got some people making more than 40 hours a week because of the needs of their kid.
And explain that the Parents as Caregivers program is a fairly innovative program that pays parents to be their child's caregiver.
Yep.
It's a challenge anyways, but now that it becomes a full-time job. Where does that go now under this bill?
Well, it would continue, but it would be in a much more abbreviated fashion because you would only get 20 hours. And the bill also has a provision that, because this is part of a Medicaid waiver, the next time the waiver comes up for renewal, the legislature, according to the bill, would have to approve doing that, or they could disapprove it, and that could end the program. And that's what's got the disability community really freaked out.
Yeah, the possible end of the program. I mentioned there were emotional moments and this truly poignant moment. We've seen a lot of hearings, and this one really struck me. Let's listen to Republican State Representative Julie Willoughby. She's a registered nurse, about the struggles she faced when she tried to change the Republican bill. Take a listen.
People have continually asked me to not move this amendment. To what hill do you die on? And I choose you. I choose you as my hill to die on. I'm sorry this is happening to you.
I choose you as my hill to die on, as she said through tears. Mary Jo, Julie Willoughby said unnamed people asked her not to move the amendment. Who were those people?
Oh, let's see. I think they might be the people who, work inside the House of Representatives in leadership. There has been a consistent message from the House Republicans. Senate Republicans have been sort of quiet, rather quiet. But the House Republicans have led the charge saying, look, this program, not just for the parent caregivers, but other disability services, the governor hasn't managed it well. She comes to us, with requests for more money. She didn't tell us that she was going to keep spending money on this parent program. And we we have got to hold her to account for that. We got to blame her for this. That's why we're here in 2 weeks before the money runs out without a solution.
Okay, so now there's a bill moratorium. Jeremy, there's a history to bill moratoriums at the Capitol. Governors like to use them. Explain how it's going to work and how this might end.
How it works is easy to explain. The second part less so. How it works is, the governor said this doesn't apply to anything that had already been sent her. So you have some very high-profile bills, stolen valor, the Axon bill. She could still, if she wants to sign those, she still can without violating the moratorium. But anything else, anything new that hadn't already reached her desk they sent her, that will be gone. And so that means anything.
She will veto it,
she will veto
and they'll have to start over.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff's probably going to get vetoed anyway because it is, a Democratic governor and a Republican legislature, and Hobbs has not been shy about using the veto stamp. But there's a lot of stuff that gets signed. Most of these bills are still non-controversial, and so I think there's a lot of stuff that certainly the sponsors aren't going to want to see those get struck down and have to start over again.
And so how does this end, and how much time is there for this to end?
Well, Representative Livingston, who's the chair of the Appropriations Committee, told me on Thursday that he would hope for a bipartisan bill that they could vote on this coming week.
This coming week?
Yes.
Bipartisan bill they'd vote on in the full House?
Yes. And they'd have to have a parallel action in the Senate because of the calendar to speed things up.
So negotiations over Easter weekend resulting in something next week. How do you think this ends?
I don't know. I mean, Hobbs, came out throwing some grenades at the Republicans. House Speaker Montenegro threw some back. Senate President Peterson, who's a little bit more muted, talking about, hey, we're going to have some stakeholder meetings. We've already had some. There's going to be changes, and we think we can get to a solution. So, Hobbs threw out the possibility of, some of the money some of the places where this money was going to be taken from in the Republican plan she's open to. So we're seeing maybe a little bit, maybe some openings there. In the House, I'm not as sure, but we also saw that in the committee hearing, they don't have all the Republican votes for what they want to do. Yeah. So that probably leaves the door open for some kind of solution, hopefully.
And it appears the money runs out in about 2 weeks.
They say the money will be out, by May 1.
For these services.
And that's already led to some providers cutting back their services because they don't, it's just like with the tariffs. You don't know what's going to come, what's going to happen. You can't plan.
All right. Mary Jo Pitzel, Jeremy Duda, thank you so much for joining us. Happy Easter. Much to all of our guests. Thank you so much for joining us. We wish you a happy Easter and see you back here next weekend for another round of Sunday Square Off.